All right. Hi, Joanne. Hi, Rana. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Vonvo.com. Today is March 9th, um, 2013, and the two of you are here to discuss the revolution inside of Syria. I just wanted to go over two quick rules before we got started. The first is that right now this conversation is being recorded, and after the recording is complete, I'll be uploading the video to YouTube, to the internet. Is that okay with both of you?
Fine, thank you.
Okay, great. And on top of that, here at Vonvo, we're all about our discussion staying both civil and valuable. We don't want there to be any personal attacks against anyone. Are you guys okay with those ground rules?
Definitely.
All right, perfect. So then
I'm
let's get.
not going to shout at Rana.
So then let's.
She's a nice lady.
We'll do it outside.
So let's get our conversation started then. And we're here obviously to discuss Syria. Would each of you, for our viewers quickly who are going to be watching, would you mind just giving a quick, personal background about yourself? Joanne, you can go first, and then Rana, and how you became so passionate about this issue.
Yeah, with me, it started with the refugees in Iraq. I talked to quite a few on the internet, made friends, and eventually went out to Damascus and met some of the Iraqi refugees. And then it went from there to Iran, to Egypt, to Libya, Tunisia. I've taken an interest because, the people in the Middle East has been so warm and friendly wherever I've been. And I just hate to see what's happening, especially in Syria today. They don't deserve it, and I want to do all I can to help them.
Great. And Rana?
Well, I'm a Syrian born. Before I'm an American citizen, I am a Syrian born, and I lived in Syria for 16 years before I came to the States. So that's my home country. But despite that, just seeing the killing of people anywhere in the world, it's not something that anybody would like to just brush it and just keep on going. This is something that it's very important that we do give it some care, because it's a humanitarian issue, more and above any political issue. And I got involved in the beginning of the revolution because I started translating the news that's coming from there. And this is how I got started about this.
Great. So, one of the topics that we wanted to cover, and we're going to try and cover a few, and we'll see what we have time for. Ultimately, we can cover all three if you guys want to continue. Was the refugee crisis that's currently taking place inside of Syria. Joanne, what can you tell us about the refugees inside of Syria, outside of Syria, I guess is the better term. But ultimately, what exactly is taking place on that front? And then Rana, you can come in with your understanding of that. So go ahead.
Yeah, from what I gathered yesterday, the situation is really, really dire inside Syria. I was seeing some pictures yesterday. The women cooking potatoes, and they just had potatoes, nothing else for dinner and for the evening meal. And they said there would probably be nothing left today. And you see this all over the refugee camps, wherever they are. And I'm hoping that some of the stuff that's been donated and sent over from, I know that the UK, there is a good organisation that is sending, well, last week there were ambulances and medical supplies sent from this one particular group. They really are hardworking and caring, and their things are getting out to Syria. But it really needs such a tremendous amount of help. 1 million refugees, it's some piece of to feed and keep warm and try and keep healthy. So many diseases now coming out in the camps, even as much as scabies and some of this Leishman's disease, things like this. it's just really horrendous. Something has to be done. They need a lot more help than they're getting.
Right, and Rana, can you talk about that a bit?
Right. I think the refugee camps, we can say that there are inside of Syria, there are some inside Syria, and there are some outside Syria. There are some in Jordan, there are some in Lebanon, and there are some in Turkey. I don't know if anybody saw yesterday the picture that there was a fire in Al-Zatari in Jordan,
Yeah.
and quite few tents, they got burned. The picture I saw yesterday that they were removing the rest of the tents to preserve them from the fire. And you can imagine that the refugees, they are already in a great deal of hardship. I mean, their situation is miserable. They don't have enough food. Let's talk about it's still cold out there, and it's the problem is with not having enough heating. They don't have any means of heating, but they don't even have enough coal. So the thing is, they are already in a miserable situation, and I did speak with some people who went to visit the refugee camps in northern Syria on the borders of Turkey, and the lady told me that some nights or many nights there is one potato for one tent, and she said that this tent may have 7 to 9 people in it, and there is one potato to share. So you can imagine what their situation is like. There is no clean water. That's something that, and I'm sure you also. I mean, I would be very happy to supply pictures to see the bathrooms they use over there. I mean, it's really. It's beyond word to describe their situation. And the one in this refugee camp, they said, even with this miserable situation we're in, we're still better than the one inside Syria because of what's going on over there. And I heard other people saying we ran away from the shelling to face death from hunger and bitter cold. So I mean, you hear different statements from the refugees. And that's not to even cover the medical needs. They're not getting treated. Some of them, they are left to die. And we did see a few cases of that.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know if you have like pictures on your phone or whatever, but if you wanted to show them, that'd be more than fine. Unfortunately, we don't have like something built in for you to like display them. But what I was going to say is, next then, what ended up for most of these refugees? Can you guys, explain where exactly, why they became refugees? Why they became refugees? Hold on one second.
Interesting.
Sorry about that. Where exactly? Who uplifted these people from their homes that turned them into refugees? Where how did all these people? What exactly happened? Can you give a background of these people and their refugee status? I guess you could say now. If one of you, Joanne.
From what I gathered, they've made their own way there. They've gone from town to town. But it's so awful when you read reports of the daily reports of the martyrs, and it'll say this family moved from one city to another to get away from the bombing, and they've been killed in another city. So they're moving. They're trying to get over the border into other countries, hopefully to save their lives. It's a desperate situation. And then there are some who are actually living in caves in Syria. Get away from the bombing.
Right, and Ron.
It's hard to believe unless you see it.
Many people went on foot or by car, but even like many of them are traveling because they were injured, seeking medical help. If I can give you a couple of stories. when Assad forces, they were crushing down on Hama last year, there was a story of a man that he used his back to transfer. He used literally his back. He used to walk for hours to transfer injured people or sick people to the hospitals in Lebanon. And many times they are faced there with oppression again from Hezbollah. And either they are returned to, they are detained or returned to Al-Assad forces. So the thing is, that's one of the story. You know, you cannot imagine at this time and age that something like this happened. That those patients, they were transported on a back of one person, where he bent his back and carry over a injured person. In Daraa, the people are running away from the shelling. They're bleeding and walking to the borders, and until they cross the borders, many of them die until they cross the border and get some medical treatment. If they get any medical treatment, they die. And this is repeated over and over every day. And we saw some people, some kids, some children died from cold weather during the winter. I think 3 or 4 in Zatari in Jordan. So those refugees, they ran away from death. They ran away from their homes because they don't have any. If you see the pictures of homes and many cities in Syria, they're demolished. The shelling continues, and the only thing they can do is run away to just stay alive, and they're facing miserable situation. And there is not enough aid, and there is nothing organized from the world. We say that the world are not doing anything as, you know, politics is concerned. But the thing is, what about aiding those refugees? I mean, this is not a lot to do on the whole world to aid those refugees.
Right.
Precisely,
Yeah.
It really is heartbreaking when you see some of these pictures and the clips that's coming out. These children, especially the children. It's just, as a mother and as a grandmother and a great grandmother, my heart bleeds for them. I just imagine, what if they were my children? How can the world sit back and let the children, as you say, humanitarian aid? Why not get that in? We're not asking for weapons. Just aid those refugees. At least give them a chance to live. They've done nothing wrong. They're not criminals. They're not terrorists.
Exactly, and those are children. You know, there is a video that I was we're trying to subtitle, and it was about a mother. She was in a tent, and in that tent, she had her children. She went to the bathroom. There was the kids were asleep in the tent, and she went to the bathroom, and there was a long line because there are a couple of bathrooms, and they're out in the open. So she came back to check on the children; they were okay. And then she went back again to use the bathroom, and she heard fire, people shouting fire. When she came back, her kids were gone. And she was saying the story, and I mean, this is really very emotional to see these kind of videos and stories day after day with a complete silence in the world. The problem is, we're not asking, as you said, we're not asking to give weapons. We're not asking to help those lives that we're losing them, and just the scars, you know, that they already had from running away from inside, from fleeing, and what kind of life they're having right now. Just think about, even if they live to have a future, what kind of future they're gonna have. We're not thinking about even beyond that, because we don't know. This is the thing. The problem is, Syrians inside Syria are facing definite death, and Syrians in the refugees camps, they are facing no death. So what is it for the Syrian people?
Right, and so yeah, go ahead, Joanne.
I want to say we've got to wake people up. I'm sick of people saying, "Oh, it's their country, let them look after their own." How can they look after their own? These women and children. And I read a report this morning, I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, but they're saying in the Zatari camp, there's a lot of the women have been forced into prostitution to feed their families. This is absolutely despicable if this is in fact the case. They said even the families are making them go out to prostitute themselves.
And you hear worse than that. You hear horror stories.
Yeah.
And it's happening, in the world that's calling for democracy. And this is the thing. Initially, all these people were asking for is freedom in Syria. They faced with death, and then they left their countries to refugee camps and look at their situation right now. And I challenge, the countries around the world to go visit those camps. Visit those camps. I mean, just give those people enough food and medical help. They need. Many of them are sick. I mean, can you imagine a diabetes person with asthma? Just those, daily things that they face over there. Even like people with wheelchairs, how they're moving from place to place.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I sent a walking aid over.
Right.
With the first lot of aid I got involved with, I sent a lot of blankets and duvets, and I had a walking frame from when I had my knee operation. And when I mentioned it to Iman from the Helping Syria organisation, she said that would be ideal for somebody recovering from some operation, walking difficulties, and she took it. She was really pleased that I would give it up. I said, if it will help somebody over there, I'd give anything I've got.
Right. So, ultimately, I mean, what do you think really, like you guys bring up the idea of obviously getting in foreign aid, and that would obviously be helpful, but what other things past that do you think either, need to be done, people can do, or, what do you think ultimately, like, is there a problem of, aid coming in and it being, like, wasted, like you hear of that sometimes, or is that really not the case over there, you think, in Syria, where, aid that comes in gets, put in the wrong places? I mean, what ultimately, needs to take place in order to, help resolve the refugee crisis? Do they need to be brought to other countries, these people, or do they really just need to be sent back into a safe Syria? Can you guys just kind of elaborate on that?
I mean, number one, if you allow me, Juan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Number one, the governments in the Middle East, they need to open their doors with more welcome heart. Because what's happening is, I know for a fact that the Jordanian government, when they receive, because I know that many containers were shipped from the United States, they sit in storage in the Jordanian, within the Jordanian government, and I don't know how much they give to the refugee camps, because this is something I'm very sure of, that we send many containers from the United States, and we don't know what the destiny was until now. So this is something that I think really the United Nations to do something, or an organized program for those refugees where they will be under monitoration. The United Nations need to monitor those camps, and they need to find a solution for the refugee camp. This is beyond, organization, individuals, they all can help, but this is beyond the capacity of organization and personal help. Yes, we all need to help, and everyone needs to donate, but really there's something need to be done much bigger than this.
Yes, when you
and
see
of course
the
you can't
state,
send them back to Syria. They're shelling them. So this is what's going to happen. They're going to face definite death. Yes.
it's going to be a long haul as well, because when you see the state of the country, there's going to have to be, when it's all over, there's going to have to be so much rebuilding. Where are the people going to stay until new homes are built? And this is a good, and there's also there's going to be a backlash of people with post-traumatic stress disorder. And,
Right.
The children as well are going to need a lot of psychiatric help after this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's very true. And right now, even in the safe area that the Free Syrian Army are taking over, if you notice that they're shelling them, so they're not safe. There is no safety in Syria. Within the Syrian borders, there is no safety, because even if it is freed from, you know, the regime forces on land, it's being shelled from above. So the thing is, there is no safe haven for them over there. 90% of Homs province, and that's a very large area in is demolished. 90%. If you can hear that, it's 90%. It's demolished. Damascus rural. If you go to Damascus, you know, the rural side of Damascus, many cities are demolished. Some of them, like if you go to Daraya or Muaddamiyya, it's almost 100% demolished. There are some areas that almost 100% demolished. The same thing goes for the rural area in Latakia, Idlib, Aleppo, and I can go on. The thing is, excuse me, go ahead.
Deir ez-Zor as well.
Exactly. Deir ez-Zor. So the thing is, yes. So I really don't know. I mean, inside Syria, there is no solution. And then until this regime fall down and the killing stop, there is no solution. Outside Syria, in the refugee camps, also the refugees are in great need of help, and this needs to be happening now, because we don't want to lose them as well. So there should be something that coming up soon before we lose them.
Right. So ultimately, you know, Rana, you just brought up until this regime falls. So that was one of the other, you know, items that we wanted to try and cover today in our discussion. So, you know, the idea behind the Assad regime. Could you kind of give us, since you lived in Syria for a while, can you kind of give us your take on, you know, the Assad regime back when you lived inside of Syria, and, you know, now what it's turned into, and kind of, you know, did you kind of see this coming? It was a matter of time. Can you kind of just give us your overall take on the regime back, you know, some years ago, and then, you know, leading up to the revolution, and, you know, now obviously presently I want to think that you don't have a very favorable opinion at all about them, but could you go into that, and we could transition into that?
Sure. As I was a child growing in Syria, going to school there, we always learned over there, just to give you an insight, that the world has ears. World have ears. Don't say anything. Don't speak up anything, because your parents could be either in prison or killed. We heard many situations while we were in school. One time, I know that the president, that was Bashar's father, he was giving a speech, and one of the children in second grade in my school said something in school that his father said that something about the president, that he doesn't know what he's talking about, or it's not true what he's saying. All we know that after that his father disappeared. You know, a second grade child just mentioning what his father reply was on the speech while everybody was praising it at school, of course the teachers. So the thing is, for just voicing an opinion, or a child saying my father said that, his father, so you can imagine the fear in the rest of the children's heart after that. Through the Hama crisis in the 1982 over there, many people that I know that got killed. I mean, there were two older people that they were from the family. They were wealthy people. They went inside their home. They stole everything they have, and they poured gas on them, and they burned them and burned their home. So this is the freedom that we had in Syria growing up. You didn't have any means of freedom to even say or express, and you had to do things by force. When uprising started in the Middle East. I was even discussing with my husband. He said, "You think Syria will be next?" I said, "No way. Syria wouldn't have any uprising." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because in Syria, the oppression is too high. I mean, you people have a high level of fear. There is no way they're going to do anything. So nobody planned this. People wanted to just eat and live, and although it was a horrible situation with no freedom, uh, people lived, and lived with the fear. Now, when this revolution started, it started over young boys writing, copying of what other countries went through. The people want the regime to fall down. That's all they did. They were detained. They were tortured. Some of them were killed. Of course, people saw their kids going through this. They had to just demonstrate about this. They didn't do anything else, and they were faced with gunfire. And this is how this whole revolution started. This revolution was due a long time ago. Long time ago. It's very miserable to live without any freedom to even say your opinion, even speak your mind, even always in fear that I say something now they're going to come after me. People in the 80s, they were detained in hundreds of thousands in Syria. And many of them got killed in prison. Some of them got out after 20 years. You can imagine what their situation. Educated people, engineers, and you have stories to read. So where we are right now is, of course, nobody wanted to see all this bloodshed, but this is something that was due to happen because this regime was not going to let go. Was not going to let go.
Really? Go ahead, Joanne, if you have any comments.
I was just looking at one of the posts down there from Victoria. She's asking, "Oh, you're going to ask us after, Max? Are you?"
Well, no. I want to definitely.
Where the rebels are from.
No, yeah. So there are two questions that have been posted, and we'll ask each of them. So Richie asks, and I guess each of you can answer this question: is the Free Syrian Army a better bet for regional stability than Assad? Would each of you mind answering that question? Then we'll ask Victoria's question right after.
It can't be worse. That's for sure. I think it probably would be. They've got their concerns about their own people after what they've seen. They're not going to want to carry on this sort of life. They want freedom like everybody else. I don't know what you think, Rania.
Let me tell you what I think. Where did the Free Syrian Army came from? It is the Syrian people. They are the Syrian people. Some of them are defected soldiers who lived under the oppression of the regime, and some of them are just regular citizens who joined because they want to get rid of the regime, because they're seeing their family members getting killed. So the thing is, ultimately, I believe that those people who saw their relative getting killed, who saw the oppression before, they wanted a better Syria. Let me say something. We hear stories here and there. Yes, there are maybe many mistakes because they're human beings. They're not trained to be in an army, some of them. And, things happen. There are good people and bad people everywhere and in everything. So the thing is, yes, we may see those mistakes, but ultimately it will be the choice of the people of Syria, because those are the real Syrians who put their blood on the front line and their souls on the front line to save their country and to save the rest of the people. So I do believe that, and I'm sure they're going to work together to get things working for the best of interest of this country. Where I saw the question for Victoria, yes, there are more than 1 million people in the refugee camp. This figure is accurate. People are fleeing in thousands every year, every day. I'm sorry, from Syria. Yes,
that's true.
Great. Okay. So I guess then what I would ask next is, in terms of, the Assad regime, Richie kind of hinted at it. Is the Free Syrian Army a better bet to take over? I mean, can you guys discuss what other alternatives there are at this time? I mean, is it just like really a state of confusion, and it's kind of difficult to say what the options are, or is there any, over time, are you guys expecting, different like leaders inside of Syria to kind of emerge? I mean, can we kind of move into just alternatives and solutions and things that can take place? Rana, do you want to start?
Well, I don't think that the Free Syrian Army are looking to rule the country afterwards. I don't think that this is ultimately their goal. That's something you hear it over and over, because we see videos every day coming from every town, and small towns and small villages that already are freed on land from the Syrian regime occupation. They are electing members within the city or within the village to rule. I mean, I saw really some nice videos that gave me lots of hope, how they elected the most wise and knowledgeable person amongst them. When they asked them, why did you choose that person? They said, because he's always fair and he's always wise. We always ask his opinion. So we thought that he'd be the best leader. Although it's a small town, but they already elected, elected a committee to run affairs. They're getting food, and if they get any food or any aid, they divide it equally between people. So that gives you hope that people, they are trying to establish the democracy that they never had. That if every town does the same thing, I think we will have third place. Now, I asked several people from the Free Syrian, what are your outlook? What is it, you're going to face problems, people? And they said, we are trying to work under one umbrella right now. We're trying to work together. We have problems. We're trying to solve them. And we have people who are working on looking for the future, how we're going to establish peace in Syria. So this is something, I'm sure, although the main goal right now is the removal of this regime, that they are looking for a better future. I mean, why all this bloodshed? You think people who, really sacrifice their blood and their family members, their beloved ones, that they're gonna sit and fight forever? I don't think so. I think that they are going to come to the conclusion that they need a better country and they need to build it together. And I hope that this is what's going to happen, unless many other fingers from outside plays role in there, because that sometimes can happen. And I hope to see that the Syrian people will see their dream coming true after all this genocide.
Joanne, do you want to add on top of that, please?
I think there are. Yeah, I don't think there's much I can add to that. Yes, there are green shoots, as Rani said there. These liberated places are electing people to run them, and things are looking much better there. So fingers crossed that the regime will soon be gone and the people can get their lives back together again, rebuild a great Syria. I've got high hopes for them.
May I add something over here?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the regime is playing this lost hope they have, which is, talking about the division, and that this is all about, different sects and groups. And, we lived in Syria with many sects and groups and different religions. And people, I'm sure, Miss Joanne, you said how people are very warm and hospitable overseas, and then and this is how neighbors live next to each other, despite the differences of their backgrounds. They lived, they didn't have anything but caring for each other. So the thing is, I think this is the final card on the table for the government to play, is to and you know, to spread this to the outside world that this is all about, you know, different religion and sects and group, and this is not what it is. This is people in one country calling for their freedom. That's all what it is about.
Right. And would you mind just, you know, like we've had some pro-Assad individuals come on and discuss the idea behind, you know, being like a secular state, and you know, that was like one of the most amazing things about the regime and the country of Syria. I mean, that's like one of the things that they seem to, you know, fall back on and talk about. What's your take on that, Rana, and how that plays into all this, or do you think it's really just it really doesn't have any relevance?
Well, the thing is, it doesn't matter if they're secular or not secular. They're oppressors. I mean, where is the freedom? If we're not talking about what kind of country, okay, we're talking about, you know, a whole nation with no rights, no rights whatsoever. You don't have the right to even speak up your opinion. What kind of life is that? I mean, even animals, they don't get treated that way. So, I mean, what kind of government is that? It's just like, this is my question. I don't care what religion this government is, or what kind of wing they are. I'm just looking at the rights of people. This is what we need. We need a government to grant people their main basic rights that every individual is entitled to.
Mm-hmm. Joanne, do you have anything to add on
Exactly
top of
right,
that?
Rana. Exactly right. And I mean, I don't care what religion anybody is. It's how they behave that matters.
Yeah.
And I think that any sect can live side by side in harmony. I mean, I didn't see any problems when I was in Damascus. It's a few years ago. It's about 5 years ago, but it was just really wonderful there. And how this amazes me now, how the Syrians took the Iraqi refugees under their wing and helped them out. It was fantastic. You know, all the time I was there as well, they were people in the streets were asking me, "Oh, you're from England? Please come and have dinner with us. Please come and meet my family." And you know, it's really, really wonderful. And I felt safe when I was walking around because the people around me were so good.
Is this inside of Syria you're talking about, Joanne?
Yes, yes.
And how long
This
ago?
was Damascus.
How long ago was that?
About 5 years.
Interesting.
Let me tell you something about Syria. I didn't go that many times to Syria, but every time I go there, although yes, we're talking about, and I will tell you an incident. When my kids were very young and we went over there, we were riding in a taxi. My son was 5 years old. No, a little bit more. I think 6 years old. And while we were in the taxi, he told me up loud, he said, "Mommy, why the president here has his nose in everything?" And I didn't want him to say anything because I don't know whether the driver is a pro-government or what. So I had to just, you know, just be quiet, you know, just whisper to him. And I said, "Why you're saying that?" He said, "His picture is everywhere." And that's exactly what you see. His picture is everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but despite that fact that, yes, we had the fear from the government, but there is some kind of peace because of the warmth in the people's heart, because of the way people, they really have lots of good inside them. So the thing is, there is some feeling of peace. It's irreplaceable anywhere. And I wish that this will go back soon.
Right.
when it was a while ago, there was a series on education in Syria, and it was dealing with children from about 6 years old to going to college, and every morning they had to sing the anthem to Bashar and say how great he was. Even, I mean, I didn't realise when I was in Syria, I didn't realise the underlying oppression.
And let me tell you something. If you didn't say it, you will get slapped on the face. Yeah. You know, a couple of my friends that they didn't want to sing it in the morning. They got slapped by the principal. They got slapped on the face, and they get reported. The principal took them from their hair, dragged them from their hair in front of all of us. That taught everyone a lesson, of course, and they were slapped on their faces, you know, because they were not singing for Mr. President.
Oh.
So there's a.
So I rather saw from that documentary. This.
Go ahead, Joanne.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So you know, you could see that the children were being indoctrinated from being small in the schools.
Right, and
but the girls weren't. It didn't seem as if they were holding the girls back, because they encouraged some of the girls to take up arts, which they were, according to the program, they weren't formally allowed to do. And there was two girls that were very, very good at art, and they went on to university studying art, and the school were quite proud of them.
Right.
And sports.
Rana, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
If you allow me, I may answer some of the. I would like to answer some of the questions that they are on the. Here.
Would you mind just quickly, Rana? I definitely want you to do that. Some of the people are posting some questions inside of the text chat, and I'd love for you guys to continue speaking. I just wanted to give you each a heads up that in a few minutes I'm going to have to go and start a conversation that's taking place in a little while. So continue your discussion and answer any of the questions that are here, and feel free to obviously continue. But I just wanted to thank you now before I have to just drop out in a little while. Okay?
That's no problem at all. I mean, I think we're. For me, it's pretty much, covered what we need to talk, but I would like to answer a couple of questions that are here on the bulletin. For the rebels, that, as I said, the Free Syrian Army, there are some defected soldiers. Some of them are defected from inside Syria, they're soldiers, and many others who are civilians who joined. Yes, there are some people who came from outside, but they're very minimum. And when I asked about the number, they said there may be 5% of the Free Syrian Army, that they came from outside to help. Not they're imported by Western countries or anything like that. I heard that they came from outside to help the Free Syrian Army. And that they're 5% anyways of the population of the FSA. As for... did the surrounding nation attempt to affect change? No, because I think the surrounding countries are many of the Middle Eastern countries. They're going with the same system almost of Al-Assad. I mean, I don't think that they have any hands in anything. They all need to save their governments, which they think they inherited. So that's my answer for that. That's for cause. Joanne, you have something?
I know about the foreign soldiers in the FSA. I know of